Okay, have you heard the one where I lived with a bunch of poltergeists? Well, it's true. You can ask my whole family. And it was in Texas. And I am not trying to pretend that I am an expert on poltergeists or anything of that evil side world. But it's out there, and I do believe in the supernatural, and I do believe that there are things working around us and in places of our lives that we maybe not even are aware of. But this is an interesting story, so sit back and I'll tell you all about it. So, again, I was in Texas. This was my parents' first home when I came to live with them. So, it was and that's a whole nother story. But with this home, the poltergeist kind of came with the home. So I don't know what was going on with that family like before us, but there must have been some turmoil because the poltergeists were already there. So when we moved in, we had our fair share of stuff. I had Freemasonry in my blood. We had addiction within the family. We had people astral projecting. We had the cards were, you know, against me as a child. So things that would happen. We had this huge glass table. You remember in the 80s, we had like tables made of glass. I don't know. But it exploded out of nowhere. Nothing fell on it. Nothing tipped over. Just in the middle of the evening, it exploded into a million pieces. That was fun. My mother, I remember, was on the phone and something got picked up on the other line. Like, remember you had like house phones and there was like two lines or two phones within the house? Well, she felt like somebody picked up the other phone within the house and she kept talking. She went to go check it out after the phone call, and yes, the receiver was off. And it was not the cat. The cat was right with us. So that was odd. We'd always hear like our names while we were sleeping, and it would wake us up. The most interesting part is that it felt like it came from this center room. So there was a circular movement to the house. So it's like that's the layout that you could walk circularly through. But in this one middle room, I think that must have been where the teenager lived because that's where the most angst was. There was a smell. It was a fish smell and it was disgusting, but it would only like come out like if our family was fighting. And we looked in the basement, we looked in the attic, and there was no dead animal, but it was there and it was pungent. So that room was kind of like the epicenter, and I could not walk through that room as a child. Not just because of the smell, it just was this visceral feeling of like yuck. I had an art project as a child where you put your handprint on clay and then your mom ties it up in a nice little bow and nails it on the wall. Well, we came home from dinner one night and it was on the floor, and those clays are fragile. It wasn't broken. The nail was still in the wall. The bow was still tied, and it was just laying on the floor. We had wind chimes from, like they were made of like geode rocks, very hard. They were hung above our sink in the kitchen. Those had fallen. Nothing broke. They just weren't untied. Hook was still there in the sink. Dreams. Lots of dreams. Not great dreams. Kind of an astral projection kind of dream. I remember being asleep and then I woke up on the trampoline. Not physically, in my dream. And I felt the wind. I could see the dog. I was outside in my backyard on my trampoline. And there would be sometimes dolls that were, falling or on my bed. The one dream that still like stuck with me in the living room, I was walking in my dream and like this axe came at me, and it was very realistic. And oh, the knife, I was putting the dishes away. Nobody will believe this one, but it happened. a knife, I dropped it, fell in between my big toe and second toe, and it went like boing, 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 boing. It didn't hurt me, but it was very bizarre. And as a kid, you had a Ouija board. This was I think this is the weirdest one. We had a Ouija board, and of course, you know, I'd have slumber parties, and we were like playing the Ouija board. Don't listen to me. Don't be doing the Ouija board. I know I'm sounding like a grandma, but don't do the Ouija board. Just trust me on this, okay? Don't be bringing in any of that stuff. You don't know. It's not of God. Just don't do it. We did the Ouija board, and I am now awake in the morning. All my friends are still asleep, and the Ouija board's like right there on the box. And I remember I'm on the bed, you know, kind of hanging over the bed. My arm is like dangling over the Ouija board box, and it starts moving. My hand starts moving, and I'm like not doing it. So it was almost as if my hand was just, you know, moving on top of the box to give me some sort of message. I like that. So that's my story within my house of the poltergeist. I was able to really feel it. My family felt it as well, but I was highly aware. I'm still highly aware, and it's still a little uncomfortable sometimes, but now I don't partake in that. So it's not something that I put my effort or mind or focus on. When I became more of a teenager, I had, you know, goth friends and things. And I remember one goth friend who was very proud of her new home that she bought. She was in her early 20s. And they bought this home together, her and her boyfriend. And she was so proud. It was cheap, Texas. I will never forget that house. I walked into that house and I couldn't breathe. It was so, and it wasn't mold, it was freaking demons or something. Her bathroom had, I don't know where they found, they bought it like this. Porno wallpaper. Do you know about how to buy porno wall? I don't know how to buy porno wallpaper, but they had porno wallpaper. There was a sacrifice table, and they just, you know, they're like, look, it came with this great table. I'm like, dude, there's cuts all over it. There's kind of like, there's like dried blood. Like, it was not right. And they were very, very proud. And like, there was a couple of walls that had like unassigned space. Like, you're like, you could tell, like, there's this wall, and then there's like another wall, and then there's like maybe 4 to 5 feet of like what's in that space. There's something in that space. So I remember I visited that house once, and she had a party, and that's where I was at this party at this house. And I remember going to the bathroom by myself. And you know, like when you get a fever and you just like hear, it's like the walls were closing in, and I had to get out of there. So I never went back to that house. It was hard living in a poltergeist house because there was this just underlying feeling of doom and evil. But there was a lot of stuff going on in my life that kind of matched that. So it made sense. And as fast as they were there, I'm sure they just one day they were gone. And I mean, I can't remember back to that point in my life of like why they were gone, but just one day they were. And so I don't mess around with that stuff anymore. And I'm here to tell you that it's real, and I don't like it.